Okay. Well, round however many. So, hope you've been doing well.
Yeah,
All right. Let's.
I kept collecting stats as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. How's that been going so far?
About voice chat, really, really interesting. Like, it shows how important the communication is, and it kind of helped me elevate my win rate because when I realized that I just need to open my goddamn yapper, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me read you exactly. When nobody talks, I have a 50% win rate. When at least one person talks, that's usually me, it's already 57.
Wow.
When two or three people talk, it's like 67.
Wow. 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 That's crazy. How many games is this over?
Right now, I have almost 170, 169
Interesting.
so far.
Interesting. It makes me feel like almost like it goes without saying that of like the 57% is interesting because like that's something that you can kind of control. The 67% is less interesting to me because generally if people are communicating already, then obviously the game's going to be going better as a whole, you know? Um,
Yeah, but at least one person should be talking. And also, I've noticed that people tend to start talking more when they're already losing. Like I alluded to that before. Like when things are going poorly, then
that's
people
true.
are more inclined to start communicating.
That's
So
true.
probably these numbers are actually a bit lowered, and the actual value of communication may be even higher than that these numbers represent.
Right. Right.
So
That's interesting. What type of communication is generally like that you've seen to be like the common stuff is just like fight planning, shot calling, target calling, a little bit all the above. You know, yelling racial slurs at each other. Like what? What
yeah,
type of?
I only count, coming like
Got it.
for a person to be count as communicating, they need to do at least one like valuable call.
Ah, okay, okay. I see what you're saying. So
I
it's only
people
positive communication that gets counted.
yeah, that's why it's pretty much stops at 3 because there has never been a game where 4 or 5 people give comms. Like there are some games where 4 or 5 people talk, but that's usually like hello hello and GG and
That's
something
true.
like that.
That's true. That's true. Okay, okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, obviously we've been all over the place. We've done Sojourn. We've talked about D.Va. You had your May stint. Where are you at now?
Well, right now, surprisingly, I struggled the most at tank.
Interesting.
Overall, I have a 59% win rate this season,
Mm-hmm.
but it's uneven. It's like 61 for support, 60 for DPS, and 57 for tank for some reason.
Interesting.
So that's why I have a tank vote today,
Okay.
D.Va.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how this happens. I think it was closer to 60, but then it dropped when the sorry, not Sojourn, but Junker Queen buffs arrived, and they
Ah.
suddenly started struggling a lot. And then I kind of recently started getting back up. So
Hmm.
perhaps I'm already on track, but I suppose that was part of
Makes sense.
the issue.
What tank were you playing, or have you been
D.Va.
playing? D.Va? Oh, I mean, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the main
on
tank.
the
Yeah.
start of the season, before the Rancor Queen buffs, I actually found I had most success on Ramatra,
Yeah.
which is weird because I almost didn't play him at all before. But like, turns out he was just really strong
I
at
feel
the
like it's a
beginning
very
of the
simple
season.
tank.
But then, but then, kind of the playstyle of everyone kind of changed, and I found that I'm most useful at Ramatra kind of as just a survival bot who prevents
Yeah.
the card movement,
Right.
and I had to look for other solutions, and it turns out that D.Va's mobility kind of is kind of what's the expression when something
Yeah.
suddenly becomes valuable
That makes
in
sense.
the
That makes
market,
sense.
something like that.
That makes sense. And that was your original hero, right? Like that was the OG guy you were
Yeah,
playing.
I'm so happy I can be back on her because
Yeah.
last season it was like really rough to play with D.Va.
Yeah, I can imagine. I imagine even this season might be tough. You know, I feel like Junker Queen is not a great matchup for D.Va. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
you feel from it, but
Well, it's definitely not easy. Like I think it's one of the worst matchups, but I found that if I avoid her kind of actually even more than Zarya if I avoid Junker Queen and kind of help build my teammates. That's kind of the way to go.
Agreed.
Because I found in my subjective experience that you know, the talk of the town is that Zarya counters D.Va because D.Va can't eat her beam, but I don't think that's really true because D.Va's main asset is mobility, and
Right.
sure, if you try to force like frontline battle in some tight spaces, I don't know, Legion control centers, then yeah, I guess she counters D.Va, but that's not because she counters D.Va, it's just because she has so much better environment, right?
Right.
And actually, D.Va into Zarya is a pretty good pick because you can do whatever you want without being punished by Zarya because she can ratio that. And similar sentiments to Junker Queen, but a bit less so because Junker Queen does have some mobility.
That's true. And I feel like a lot of times whenever you like have these situations where you're playing D.Va and someone's going, oh, we need to go Zarya or maybe even Junker Queen to counter the D.Va, right? I feel like that like movement
I love it.
Positive, right? Because they always.
I love seeing my opponent switching to Zarya. Then I know they're already getting shaky.
Yeah, I was rendering a video before I could have dinner last night. I was like, oh, I'll play quick play game, So I'm on Hoth and I'm playing Winston, and then I swear it happened. Even a quick play, man. All these sweaty nerds, man. I go play Winston, and they're not even on like a dive comp or like a sniper comp. They're just like playing normal heroes. Well, they go like Reaper, Tor, Moira, Junker Queen or whatever, and I'm like, all right, nerds, And it's just funny watching them like try to chase me around the map, and I'm still getting value, and like my team is just like taking all the space in the entire world, So it's just like
that's nice. Yeah. Also, with I found this maybe a little hard and competitive with when they pick a lot of counters against D.Va because like if. Like my last game, the only loss today. They picked Zarya and Symmetra and Mei, and they just it wasn't Shambali, and they just stuck on the cards, and I couldn't even come close, and there was really no way to even force them to chase me because they were on the fence. So.
Right.
I had to switch, but
like that where you have to get like everything perfectly, like your positioning. Like I find in those situations, at least with Winston, when they go like full counters, they should just like basically give up the entire map, and so that you end up getting like, okay, they end up countering me, but at least I get fat bubble when I get a fat cleave. And it's kind of the same thing with like D.Va. It's like, okay, if they go like Symmetra May, that means basically I could just like go like hard flanks, you know what I'm saying?
If there are flanks, yeah.
And it's still rough, but like you said, in Shambali, there's not a lot of space, and I think and again, it kind of goes back to like your control center problem, where it's like it's almost more of a map problem than it is a counter problem. Like if they go counters,
exactly.
Center, if they go counters in Shambali, it's hard. Like it really is hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looking through your form here. Obviously, this is we've been through the whole routine here, so whatever you want to do today, I'm down for it.
Well, I was kind of hoping you'll be a little bit more mean today, if you know what I mean. I found that this works better on me in general because I'm also putting now a lot of time, like 3-4 hours a day. I hard practice chess for a month because this weekend I have a chess tournament, City President Cup. So city mayor, mayor is how you call your city guys, right? In the US, yeah. So I hope to do well, and I found that really psychology plays a lot of it into my winning, like both in Overwatch and chess. And I found that just kind of telling myself what a stupid idiot I was to do something like that's effective in keeping me from making this mistake again.
Sure.
And also. This is kind of what I think is to an extent already over, but I found that at the start of the season, I started dropping a lot into this kind of blaming teammates. I mean, not out loud because that's stupid, but I would kind of look at the tab or see my teammates doing bad things, and I would get deconcentrated, and then my play would diminish, and I kind of knew it's down because I need to focus on myself, but it was hard. And in a sense, this discovery of just how much comms value kind of helped me get back on track, because if you're making comms, by definition you're focused on what's happening around you on the game and not really on analyzing if that DPS of yours has enough of damage done to control the situation.
You know, it's always like that curse of knowledge thing. You know, you're the guy running the stats, and you're pretty smart when it comes to the game understanding. And so it's like, it's always like when you have your eyes opened, it always feels like it's a lot hard to kind of still remain tunneled on your own play, even if you're not like flaming them with voice chat. It's still like it's kind of distracting. So
yeah, I can relate. Yeah. Also, as we've shown on the Radar review some time ago on Sojourn, like I'm really good at rationalizing mistakes, so I really need that.
Because there's always an excuse you can make, but it's like, is the excuse compensating? Is that good enough of a reason for whatever we saw on our screen? And usually the answer is
exactly.
No. Okay, well, we can look at the code if you like. Mm-hmm. One second. Okay.
Oh, also one more detail about the data, which I forgot because I focused on the number of people communicating. I also know the number of people who are in the voice chats, like in the first place. And it seems to be actually quite a little correlation between number of people from 1 to 4. And there's never 0 because I'm in voice chat. It's always like slightly above 50%. But then when it hits 5 people in the voice chat, it suddenly jumps up to 72%. Like, probably when the whole team is on the same page, it just makes so much more difference, because if just one person isn't, pushing along, it's already like most of the value of the push gun or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, that's
how we interpret it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, well, let's take a look. Obviously, Paladar Iso, so there's going to be a little bit of space for you to move around a little bit. Not the best D.Va map, but it's good enough. Decent high grounds, decent sight lines, so let's take a look. Is there anything in particular you wanted me to look at?
I'm not sure. Okay. I think that diagnosis is one of the most important things about coaching,
Right, sure. Okay, well, we'll take a look then.
If I were to make a guess, I think I have a tendency to go really aggro sometimes.
I mean, this is all fine as long as you can get out here,
Yeah. Hey, this was really just to cause some chaos and hopefully allow my teammates to move in.
Well, it's like the tank in a nutshell. The tank is, I go in aggressively on targets that I'm pretty good at 1v1ing, and then one of two things happen, right? Either I get the kill, or I force them all to look at me / force cooldowns, and that creates space for my team, right? So you like look here, and you're like, oh, there's Ashe. Well, I can 1v1 an Ashe really easily. Therefore, when I go on the Ashe, he's gonna have to back up. She's gonna have to get beamed. The Kiriko is gonna turn around. The Sigma's gonna be like, oh, maybe the Sigma shouldn't have shifted here, but like regardless, like, oh, the Sigma's trying to quote unquote heal. And so then this entire response, if you just look at it from an overhead perspective, looking at the blue orbs, and then you skip forward 8 seconds, look at the blue orbs, that was just from 1 boosters, right?
Yeah.
Much less if we actually factor in like the shift, the dynamite, the coach gun, whatever else that you force at that point in time. So then like at that point in time, you kind of have to like analyze like what's my power level right now? Like how much am I going to do versus this Sigma? And I think the answer is like not super clear, because you position yourself with cover really well. And this guy is also discorded, so theoretically you could be like, oh, I could really light this guy up, right? I could, even though he's got rock, like I can keep, shooting here, even though I don't have boosters, even though I don't have micro missiles, I can still do a lot of damage. Problem here, to be honest with you, is just like your mechanics look kind of like it's just like there's a lot of damage like missed there, and so at this point in time, it's just like you just need to get out. Like you've done your job. drop out, get healed up, do it again, right? Get that cycle going again.
That's basically what I did, except a bit slow, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just slow, and the problem with that is it's like you're gonna versus a plat team, which is playing versus a diamond team. You're gonna get demeched like 50% of the time here, right? You got away with it here, but the other half of the time you're not going to, and then you're gonna lose the fight because you got demeched. Even though you did such a good job, you just overstayed your welcome, really.
And also, even if I get out, it makes like it occupies Ana for a longer time to get me back up, right?
Right. Like there's a lot of that damage was unnecessary, So it's like just go play when you're strong. It's not like playing around Winston bubble. For D.Va, it's like play around your matrix, play around your boosters, play around your micro missiles. And the other thing with D.Va is your armor, right? Like you have so much of it, which makes you like ridiculously survivable. But then if you don't do it properly, then it's just like
yeah, I found that generally fighting until the armor gets down to like 50 armor, it's good, and then you really need to make a reality check, like, can I stay here and occupy that space, or should I get out? It's like the moment for judgment.
Agreed. And then the problem with this is that again you're creating space by like knocking them off the high ground, but then you're not really. This isn't like this is like too direct, It's just like too direct. This isn't sneaky enough, and then now you don't really have like proximity on any target that you want to 1v1 just yet. Like you're not on top of the Mercy, you're not on top of the Kiriko, you're not on top of the Ashe, and so now you have to like reset. Honestly, like that's a pretty risky move. I mean, it works out, but just be very careful about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Was there like a pick or something? Because I guess that after when I boosted into Sigma, I should stay high ground and occupy it and engage with the next boosters.
Yeah, stay here, stay at high ground. Obviously, turn around and deal with the Ashe here. But even if the Ashe isn't rezzed, then from here, where do you go?
Basically wait for my cooldowns and then look for the squisher target. Like maybe I drop on the Mercy, and if Ashe is on the flank, then I fly up towards her, perhaps.
Even
kind
just
of depends on the
taking this
situation.
window makes more sense, right? Like you could do like a drive-by up to here, or like just drop and shoot up and now go up to here, or even just drop, shoot booster, and then fly back out to high ground again, right? So
yeah, just one more cycle than I did. I committed in the second cycle and not in the third.
And you're committing so hard when if your team is still kind of like slowly walking forward, and like right now you're kind of going a little too deep, right? Now
yeah, I suppose it was the two peaks, like Reaper and Ashe died, but then Ashe got rest and it got a little bit dodgy. Yeah.
And even then, you still want to be patient. Like that's how you lose one fight, is like being too aggressive when your team is still in taking space.
Yeah, that's what I remember really well from Overwatch 1, and I'm kind of don't like that it's diminished in value, I feel.
Yeah.
So when you got a peak on Overwatch 1, what is? Zarya, of course.
Inevitable. Go ahead, sorry.
So in Overwatch 1, when a team got a peak, it was like a call. Everyone wanted to jump out, but like if you're 6v5, like what's the only lose condition, so to speak?
Right.
Like if a chaos breaks out and they get some peaks back, so actually to commit when you get a pick is the worst thing you can do. You just want to keep applying pressure. You can apply a bit more of it now.
Exactly.
And then either drop further bodies or they need to concede space entirely.
Right.
And now it's like all the time. Actual fact, I remember that the game on Shambalia I mentioned before. There was a moment when like it was clear we had to reset. We were like only 3 people alive, and kind of my Bastion went mad and ran in and died immediately. And I say on the voice search, like, why do you push now? Stop, we need to reset, something like that. We need to group up. And he yelled back, but we got a pick. We need to push now. Like, no, we're 3 people. We got a pick, but it's still 4v3. Like, we don't push now. But it's such a trigger for people. We got a pick. We need to push.
And it's weird too, because then the opposite is true as well, where people will get a pick and they'll just stand perfectly still. They won't apply any pressure at all, right? So it's like, you need to continue to apply pressure, but you don't like cash out and all in as soon as you get a pick.
Yeah.
Because you have to also think like, how many cooldowns, how much HP did we lose to try and get that kill? Like, how much did we spend? I mean, you saw this in the Overwatch League like a lot during like the Reaper Sojourn meta, where in grand finals, where like you'd have these teams using like Winston Bubble and Suzu and whatever, and they'd get the kill on the Winston, and they're like, all right, guys, we won. And then the enemy Reaper would Death Blossom and get literally a 4K or a 5K in the Overwatch League, right? But it's because Reaper Death Blossom, if you could be countered by Suzu or Bubble or Blink, or you could Boop or Amp, but if you don't have any of those because you used all of them to get the Winston, then you're cooked. You're over. It's over. So like,
if you got a pick, you need to take that quick moment to top up your resources, I guess, and then push. I mean, what's the price to pay? It's like you waste 2 or 3 seconds to get topped up. No, maybe 4 or 5 seconds.
Right.
But then you get a full actual 5v4 instead of kind of messy 5v4, but with resource disadvantage and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
well,
Kara here, just be careful. It's just like one of those situations where it's like, oh, I'm going to push on a soldier, but if we look at it from the perspective that we just talked about, you know where your team is, right, first off. They're not with you. They're not putting any pressure on the enemy team at all. The other thing here is that's half of your matrix, that's your boosters, that's 236 of your armor.
And I'm discorded.
And you're discorded, right? Like, you can't win this. Like, you gotta be so careful. But that's the thing, like, that's gonna force nano. You do get good value out of it, though. Nice.
Yeah. 4-second matrix is so brilliant compared to Overwatch 1. Yeah. Although I missed the short period when it was 3 seconds, right? Right after.
It is 3 seconds, isn't it?
I mean, maybe no, it's 4 seconds. No, but it was 3.
Is it really?
Yes, but you can rewind. I will booster of spawn so you can see. But there was a moment after roll Q was installed and Golds died and D.Va was suddenly so weak, so they decided to buff her by giving her this insane mobility, like 3 seconds, and she was crazy powerful for a moment.
Matrix,
and that was like a short, like one of the few moments in late Overwatch 1 when they were actually balancing relatively quickly. So like after 2 weeks they got back to 4 seconds, but there was a moment and it felt great.
Yeah, that would be basically no cooldown at all. I mean, yeah, okay, so this is like, I think to me, this is like the quintessential D.Va problem, right? Where, and I have problems like this when I coach Tracer players too, right? Where they're like, what do I do here? Like I think for you, the obvious answer here is that, well, you should have been here and then you should have killed this guy, right?
Yeah.
But like, I guess for like a thinking exercise here, okay, so you've cleared the off angles, you cleared the high grounds. What do? You're running into a Zarya. Like what's the plan here? You tell me.
Well, I probably should stay on cart and monitor the situation, because at some point they either need to take flanks and then I need to be on it, or they want to push into us, so I'm gotta be on that. And if they just stay on the point clamped up, like, then we get the cards under the bridge and then I can high ground.
Right.
But staying here, it's probably it's very, very soft engagement, but it's still an engagement, and if I stayed on the card, I would see the Korea fly up there.
Right. Like, you really can't be here, because even if none of them take any flanks at all, which happens sometimes, right? They're like, well, then what do I do? Is well, then you go take a flank. Like, if you get them to here and they're all crumped up here, just like fly around behind and then go fly around behind and go 3, 2, 1 and just assassinate backline, right? Probably the safest route for you would be to fly through up here, wait for your boosters, walk here, and then look for a backliner here. If the Zarya decides to match you, right, she's giving up all the lanes and all the space on main for your team. And again, you can just fly right past her onto her backline. And now because you have bomb, you're still assassinating the backline, and you have bomb for remake and so on, right? So.
Are you thinking like really, really hard flanks? I was thinking basically the high ground where McCree is right now, but on the corner, so I can shoot actually down at the plats. So yeah, basically here.
This should be fine too. You just want backline and avoid Zarya. That's all you want. And if you're gonna get to Zarya's gonna get to you, want to make her move. Like, you want to make her move. Like, that's the big thing with me, is like, I want you to chase me if you're gonna try and counter me, Zarya, right?
That's what I said. So D.Va is basically a counter to Zarya in good circumstances. These heroes are map entangled, not really counter entangled.
Because she wants to get charged and beam your squishies, right? Or she wants to get AoE right clicks. But if you're like forcing her to chase you, then she's wasting time. Yeah, I mean, number one problem here is like, you're not even marking this cast, and you're losing a lot of HP in Matrix.
Maybe that was because planning the bomb already, so I wanted to see where the core of the team is.
You gotta do your homework first.
Yeah.
Do your homework first, then go for that. Because you could even look at it like this. Like, you could be like I go high ground, I make sure there's nobody here, maybe I shoot Zarya, force one bubble, and then I go for the exact same play, right?
I mean, I can even place the bomb on the corner of that high ground I am and push it down, or even not. Like, it's still great placement for a bomb.
Yeah, agreed. And the reason, obviously, that we see this is continuing a problem is because you're not even looking. You know.
And there's a soldier popping up his ult.
Soldier and visor, right? Like, this guy has to die. Like, I appreciate the scoring from Moira here. Like, worst case scenario, you know, you could be going for Zarya. You didn't, but still, it's like a little bit concerning. A little bit concerning.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you're cautious here, it's worth a shot. Maybe you can get a kill. Yeah. Okay. So this is what you have to be careful with, I think. So it's a little bit like Winston, where the idea here is fine. It's like you have to remember the other weakness of your hero, right? It's not just like, oh, Zarya, right? You can kill squishies, but what's the problem with this right here?
So I went in just to push out the soldier, and he was with Zen, which I didn't notice. But even if soldier got bubbled, it had no right to work. Like,
it's
even if soldier was a launcher.
It's too far. It's like anything with a dive tank that forces you to close this much distance. It's like, that's one of the things with D.Va. It's like, if you were able to somehow get onto these guys while taking like 150, 200 less damage, maybe a different story, right? But I just feel like you're gonna die here, and I'm like, I think the solution here is pretty hard though. Like, I do think that the first thing first is that your bar is dead, right? So that's the first thing you got to keep in mind, right? You really can't be going for anything aggressive here. But honestly, this might be where like your best option is to shoot the Zarya.
Yeah, certainly.
Just LOS the backline and take the 1v1 with Zarya, right? Again, the problem with frontline D.Va is not that, oh, you know, you can't shoot the tank. You could shoot tanks to the live long day. I think you could shoot if this is a Reinhardt.
She's decent. She's decent frontline hero.
Right,
like,
she's very close. And you can also remove the value of the soldier Moira, Ana, or the soldier Moira, Zen, Cassie,
simply by hiding behind the corner. Yeah.
This becomes like a not even a 1v1, but like a multiple, like 2v1, 3v1, 4v1. Like, this Zarya is the one feeding, right? And I don't care if this is a Reinhardt, if this is a Junker Queen, if this is Sigma, you can take this straight here. And so that's the
I tried to get to too much at the same time. We should, again, kind of the same, I think, issue when I didn't check the flanks like previous team fight. Like, here again, I should take be more chill, like take a moment to do a situation check, and then I'd be okay. We can push cards to the corner that Zarya needs to back away or she dies, and then we worry about what we do next.
Well, let me type this in your channel. This is the dichotomy here, okay? If you're good at close range, good versus squishies, right? Right now, you need to find the balance there, right? Because you're good versus squishies, but this isn't close range. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And you're good at close range, but this isn't a squishy. So you kind of have to like you said, you have to kind of do like a check before the fight, like what makes the most sense right now. And I actually think abusing the close range is better than abusing the squishies right now.
Clearly. No, I feel actually like really bad for this jump right now. Now that we've analyzed it, because I remember, Chrono Zosa back in the day when he was coaching Winston. He was a Winston specialist, and in Overwatch 1, Winston had a much shorter jump, much longer, a jump cooldown. I think it was 6-7 seconds, something like that. And he was really emphasizing how important it is to set up your engage without using the jump. So jump is escape cooldown.
Right.
And now with such a short boosters and jumps on Winstons, we kind of forget about it. But again, I committed full boosters and matrix to engage that soldier. Like, even if I got that soldier away, like, what's next?
Right.
It's not good.
It was like the intention was good. It just like it was so far, and with Discord and with Zarya beam along the way, and not perfect matrix, and also missing 50 HP, and then also missing your Pharah. it just was you're cooked. Like it was over.
Yeah.
Like, it was never going to work. My cat is rolling around a little ball. Hey, buddy, come here. Let me see that. He's thrilled. Anything that can roll is a toy. Okay. Let's see. And this is kind of what we talked about, where like,
What I should have done the previous team fight.
Right, as long as you can LOS these guys, the problem isn't shooting, like the thing that I always say with D.Va is that the problem is not shooting tank. The problem is shooting tank in front of the supports while you're getting nuked with Discord, Soldier, Spam, everything else, right?
Yeah.
That's what's happening with this Zarya right now. You see who she's trying to shoot right now? She's trying to shoot you.
She's trying to quote-unquote counter me.
Right, but what's the problem with that? If we turn our camera to the left, you see?
She's getting all the spam.
She's getting railed,
taking
right?
all the spam,
right.
yeah.
So she's gonna get, and she can't do this. Like, this is why you have to put so much focus on squishies as a tank, is because the squishies hurt, right? They really hurt, like that. They really hurt. And so this Zarya ends up burning. So, I mean, honestly, look at her. She's getting completely railed. And look at your HP, right? Totally healthy. And then now you get on top of the Zenyatta with full matrix, full resources, and he just melts. So like that's like a really cool little microcosm of like kind of what we're talking about right there, where you go in for squishies.
Yeah, it's really reverse. We really reversed the roles from the previous team fight, me and Zarya.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, that was good. Now what you could be doing here though is like, you know where the Zarya is gonna go and you know where the Zarya is gonna be. The reason that we had the issue with the previous fight is because you couldn't set up.
Yeah, now let's see if I took notice here, because I don't remember, but what I should notice here is, okay, DPS are taking the flanks, Zarya will go middle, to go high ground and deny the angle.
Right, you're gonna be able to get on top of them quickly and closely without taking damage. So like this is the advantage of setup, right? It's like you before it was like they're all the way over here, you're all the way over here. Like, what am I supposed to do, right? So here, you know, you could be here, you know, you could be here, right? Setting up ahead of time. It's gonna take a little bit of prediction. But like, for example, here you're reacting, but you could have just been here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And then saved.
Yeah, I took too long to get to that position.
Right. So it's not just taking too long to get to that position. It's also then once you're here, you've used your boosters. You've also taken spam damage along the path there. And so now, look at your HP, right? So
I was in no position to go in for the kill, and I needed to back out. If I didn't drop there like an idiot, I would have stayed high ground, kept just picking out, shooting at the soldier and Zenyatta a bit, and I would occupy two heroes, basically, and have my team fight for victory.
You would be able to make the decision about whether I want to keep these backliners occupied, or then double back and then LOS backline and shoot tank. Right.
Yes, and now I only have one of these options, and if anyone got low in any of the areas, then I could commit on him. That was a terrible bomb.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was good. Good. Unfortunate. This fight's lost, yeah.
Yeah, we need to get back.
And see, now again here, it's like you don't have like the setup advantage because you didn't win the last fight, but there's enough space on the map to where you absolutely can set up, right? Like right now, where could you be, or where could you be setting up?
Right now I'm waiting for my team, I think, but I should at least peek to see, fly up to where my Pharah is, and at least see if they're taking the bridge or if they're all downstairs. If they're all downstairs, I'm taking the high ground. If someone is there, then okay, I drop back, and when we engage, then I at least know that there's someone and who it is to fly at, right?
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, either this side, you can also wrap around from here and decide about if you want to do anything from there.
I don't like. Oh, I don't like the other side. It's
Too open?
First of all, partly, but also they will always know that you're there,
That's true.
and they will expect you. And I think it's much harder to spam from that high ground and hide, and you take just a lot more damage there. It's just worse than
Right.
the
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. But like, you know, as soon as you see this here, this should be all the even if you didn't go high ground initially, this should be all the information that you need to know.
Like this should be the frame I'm pressing boosters to go high ground.
Right. So who's missing? You know, what's going on my left ear? You know, like that's just like the way that you're doing these like drive-by setups and backline is
Oh my god, it was such
so
terrible
bad,
mechanics.
you know?
It was so bad.
It's just so poorly set up. You take so much damage. You approach it from the front line. So your staging is just terrible. Like your intentions here aren't even bad. Like you do get the result that you want in terms of the space that you've created, but the result is just terrible, right? And the funny thing is that, or the setup, excuse me. But the funny thing is that I actually don't even think that you did this. I actually think it was your soldier in your far. Yeah, so your soldier far actually created space, not you.
Yeah, I really should not be. What the fuck I was thinking when I went low ground and around instead of just flying up to that high ground.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's
oh my god.
It's a little ugly. At least your matrix management was pretty good, so you're gonna get out of here safely. I don't know where you're. What is your soldier smoking, my friend? Oh my goodness. What is he doing? What is he doing?
What an excellent usage of an ultimate. Oh my god.
Gosh. You know what would be fun is to get some of these games, maybe a game that I play, you know, a ranked game, and just go through like the lowlights, you know, like the worst plays that I did, the worst plays that my teammates did, and just be able to title it like plat, by the way, you know what I'm saying?
Actually, I remember this guy. He was the only one not in voice chat. It was 4 people in voice chat, but he joined. He joined at the end of the defense, like I think last team fight or second to last team fight. Then he joined and he suddenly started. Okay, group up. We need to group up.
Oh my gosh, that's always how it goes. Like I'm gonna save everybody. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? I will point this out. I mean, this is obviously like one of those situations where you're like, well. Learning time, right? Why does this work?
Because I don't use any resources before I get there, so now I can. Well, I got a kill, but even if I didn't, I can basically play peekaboo with like 3 people and occupy them.
Much. Yeah. You had exactly what we wanted with those two, that dichotomy earlier, like close range squishies, right? And you were set up in that position where both of those were options, and then it was just like, bam, you know, he just instantly dies. Oh, good. And then again here, setup, right? Like, you have to wonder if, like, maybe if you could have generated a little bit more HP before you go for this. Maybe you could have waited, like, 2 seconds for micro missiles before you did this, right? So, like, we could nitpick the micro, but in terms of the macro, in terms of the actual execution, the idea, you start from an angle, you start from flank, you immediately get pressure on backline. He doesn't even know that you're there. This is perfect, right? Like, this is perfect. So the only problem is obviously, like I said, I want you 650 HP, and I need micro missiles for this, right? Especially for
and also the entire thing should happen like 5 to 10 seconds later when our soldier gets back.
Maybe, but their soldier is also dead.
Well, yeah, but I went after the actually, it was I happened to kill him because I was setting up for the next team fight, so I guess that wasn't a problem. Okay,
right. Never mind. If it's an even fight, you just need to go. Like, you know, it's ranked. You know how this is gonna go. You know, like if it's close enough, you just need to go.
Yeah.
So either here, you know, this is all fine and dandy, and you're gonna get out. Oh, but like that's where it's just like it's just micro missiles. That's literally
it's having micro missiles earlier or having just 50 HP more. I mean, I was 27 HP down only, so I could go in, but
it's just micro missiles. Those all, you know, that's all. That being said, good idea. Still controlling space, even with the pistol, you know. Again, there you go. There's bubble.
I'm always...
See, like
let's see if I got smarter now.
Okay, this goes back to the first thing that we talked about. So it's like a lot of our conversations have been about playing for what you want to do, and then how you're actually executing at what you want to do, right? So that you're playing for the right things, and then when you're trying to do the right things, you're actually doing them properly, right? Like, are you trying to dunk the basketball, and then how are your mechanics at dunking the basketball? Right now, I'm pleased that you're trying to dunk the basketball here, right? But then what's the mistake here? Ignore the nano for a second, because that happens after you make the mistake.
A mistake here. I think I was. I actually think I know I was a little bit low on HP, but I have full matrix. I can again occupy both soldier and Zenyatta and have my team play
Sure.
4v3. So
Sure.
I think even without nano, I could stay here. Like I know I was a little low, but they weren't shooting at me at that moment. Like I would stay here. I would stay here.
Okay, so let me rephrase this question here. It's not a question of whether you can do something or whether that something is the best thing to do. The question is just about whether you could be doing it better. You've used your micro missiles here. You're missing some HP, and you don't have boosters. Why not wait 2 or 3 seconds and then go for this exact same play when you actually have lethality? The question is not whether you can occupy your attention. The question is if you could occupy more attention if you waited 2 or 3 seconds. It's the same logic.
I think it was only because they weren't shooting at me yet. Like Soldier was getting the hell out of there, so I was shooting at him. I suppose I got the nano at the exact moment I would dip under the cover. Maybe I even do after the nano because I had already planned it.
Right. So let's put it this way: if you peek this here before the nano and they start shooting you, you're gonna flash matrix and you're gonna duck. Wait, 3, 2, 1, missiles go. Right. That's what I want you to do. Okay. If you're peeking here and you're like, they're not even punishing me for just standing here, so I'm just gonna keep standing here until they look at me. Then that's cool too. Okay. Obviously, everything works out dandy here. So this guy up. I mean, that guy needs to die. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I have no idea how he survived. He got Moira, he got Bubble, he got everything, and I mean, technically it's good because they used all the resources to save him, but then all my team died around somehow at the same time.
Yeah, it's like one of those questions about
actually, it's not the point looking at my teammates' mistakes, but what happened that teamfight is that everybody died and they had resources to save Zenyatta.
The reminder then, though, is that okay? So yes, you have all these mistakes, but also Cassidy wins the play. Kiriko tries to follow you. I don't know what she's doing. I'm not gonna lie with you. That being said,
Kiriko.
You got nano. You're expected to do a lot. You're expected to bait a lot of attention. You're also the tank. You're expected to bait a lot of attention. Like, the thing for you is it's like, you get, like, this used to happen to me when I would play a lot of tank, right? I would get these, I would play, like, back then it was Arisso, because I was, just a Sigma male, right? And I'd be like, bro, how am I, like, killing 2 every fight? How is my KD, like, 25 and 4, and we're losing this map, right? Like, how is this happening? And I realized it's because I'm taking a lot of damage, I'm demanding a lot of healing, I was getting like half of the support ults thrown my way, and I wasn't
that's what's really annoying about people who, go crazy aggro, everybody's just focused on pocketing them, and then it turns out that they get all the damage and all the assists, and they're all like, how are we not winning? How are you having 1/5 of my damage? Because everything I do is to pocket you.
It's like a pharmacy flaming you guys in voice chat, and you're like, you do realize that you've had a mercy glued to your butt this entire game, right? So like that's kind of like what's happening here, where it's like you had the perfect setup, you're playing tank, you're playing into a Zenyatta soldier, and you got editors, and you failed to get a kill.
Yeah, I had this dip, what I mentioned before, like I was just slightly dipping into cover, but then I realized I get nano, so I got it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But something has to die here, right? Something has to die here. Like, I don't care if they get bubble here. Like, your aim has to be that much better. You shouldn't booster this right away. Or like, I mean, look at this guy. You're aiming at a wall, right? I mean that's why this guy doesn't die, right? So
mechanics.
Yeah, I do think the mechanics have been not consistently diamond level. Let's put it that way, right? Like, like even at a D.Va level, like that guy just has to die. And so like you look at this fight and you're like, okay, well the Zenyatta dies, Well, then maybe my Kiriko lives, or maybe the Moira, they're still focusing me, maybe the Moira lives, I don't know, like, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, like, me and Kiriko are kind of fighting at 2v4, but then their McCree is fighting 1v3, and they're winning both of these fights.
Right, right. You're going into these fights with a lot of resources, and you're not finishing kills. So, and, like, that's kind of like what you have to look at here.
Mechanics.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if I boosted because I saw him one and I wanted to booster and melee or something, but then he got bubbled. But then he got bubbled and he instantly gets 200 HP, so there was no point in staying there.
Yeah, but like I think you see there, like, even before the boosters were committed, the guy should have been dead.
Yeah, of course. Like, he should never get the opportunity to get into that room in the first place. And that's down to mechanics.
This cat's getting away with murder. So you're thinking bomb, and like, okay, thank you. Like, why even drop the Zarya? Like, you have a perfect angle to control their DPS. This position, you're not LOSing backline. Like, if you were here trading Zarya, kind of a different story. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about on here, you know, and on here, right? But you're not. You're trading with Discord with a Zarya. Not going to work. So you're either here or you're setting up for backline again, but this time you actually have bomb. Problem is that you do a drive-by and you lose about 100 armor. And you're also not actually paying attention. So, like, this is good value, but again, it's just always like, it's just always done and staged very sloppily. You know, you don't get to these off angles, to these positions, to these.
Yeah, you should see my disgusted face and disgusted at this. Yeah. I mean, it's cool that I had the idea of what I need to do, but why I did it so poorly.
Yeah, same thing here, by the way. Idea here is fine. You are pulling a lot of resources and attention your way. I don't even know what's going on with your DPS, honestly. But like, you gotta end and cover, right? You gotta end and cover.
I think I wanted to go inside, but I hit that slight round pillar and it bounced me to the wrong side.
But this is like another situation where you get a kill, but you should have gotten the remac, and then flown up, and this soldier dies, and then you guys literally just cap off this, right? You guys still might cap off this, right? Your Hanzo dies, and you die, and it's both of them are your fault. Like, it's just it's a disaster, right? So,
yeah, I probably shouldn't even booster to do the bomb. Let's just stay on as long as possible their bomb, because it should not be a bomb to kill. It should be a bomb to keep them hidden and
time. Yeah, agreed. Okay, so far a little bit of how you're setting up, understanding like when you can LOS backline and trade tank. And then just mechanics, right? It seems like you have mostly the right idea, but the way that you execute it both mechanically and then how you position, how quickly you get there is slow. Okay.
So I see two things. First, focus on taking as little damage as possible before getting to the position from which I want to pressure.
Yeah.
And then focus on tracking. I never practice mechanics kind of deliberately.
Here's what I would do. If you were to VOD review yourself, and then even just in game, like as soon as the fight ends, this is something that I talk about with probably every person that I coach. Where should I be? Where should I be? And like, ask yourself that question every fight. Like, where should I be? Where should I be? Where should I be? Where should I be? You know, and then get there as quickly as you possibly can. Don't waste time.
Yeah, that's actually what I think. Iostacks gave a really good advice to always keep deathcam, to have this setting, because deathcam are just distracting. Even if you're curious on how you died, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Focus on what's the next as soon as possible.
Outside of like the ult charge, like invest your time instead thinking about, okay, where do I need to be next fight? Where do I need to be, right? Kind of weird matrix, honestly, given the fact that you're like matrixing his entry in, and then here it's like, you know. You talked about,
I give up all the space for him.
You give up so much space, right? Like, you give this ball so much value, and that's just temporary HP that you're shooting. So, like, it's not that shooting ball is bad, but chasing ball is bad, right? And like, now you're doing what Zaryas do to divas, right? You're doing the mistake that the D.Va wants the Zarya to do. You're chasing the tank that you quote unquote.
Honestly, I look at this frame. I look at this frame here, and I'm thinking I've already lost my team this team fight.
You really have, yeah. This Tracer just walks through. You have actually no pressure on backline. Now their Cassie's in spawn, so you will have time to be able to retake high if you want. You should definitely be retaking high.
And then I immediately go back because I
and then how does your backline die? You know, right? know?
I mean, to be fair, Zana should have realized she's frontlining, but
Yeah,
but she shouldn't be needing to realize to be realizing that.
No,
She should, but then she shouldn't. So,
This is all fine. He's close, so. Nice. But that Moira didn't even know what hit her. She died like a frame she came out of fade. Damn. Oh, bless me. Alright,
I remember I was really disoriented next team fight. I mean, soon I really want to analyze what happens from here on out.
okay.
This would be a weird thing, I think.
It's a weird part of the map for you for sure. Like I think
Yeah,
like where you're
certainly
at now
the
is,
worst.
Yeah, where you are now is probably fine. Like just tucking in this corner, short sight line. Like if you can't like access squishies easily because there's like not good high grounds and not flanks, like just play high grounds.
Yeah, no flanks here.
Play short sight line. The problem here is that you're peeking their backline, but your team is not peeking them. So you should just be hiding like here. Even if you're gonna frontline, just hide on this corner here.
I mean,
right?
I was actually looking just for safest place for me, just to block the cart and let it move.
Yeah,
And
but don't block the cart here. Let them walk into your backline's LOS. You know, look at your cast, look at your soldier, look at your mercy. Like make them turn the corner into you, so that you don't lose a bunch of HP because you're peeking 3 people by yourself. You know, like your soldier's pushed up here, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, I can do this peak, but I can't stay on this peak. I need to get back there, and I oversimulate.
Information, sure.
Yeah. I mean, then I stayed here because everybody died. So it wasn't really weird. It's just Ball and Tracer got to the backline and killed everybody.
Yeah.
So there was probably nothing I could do.
I will say this is where like it tilts me a little bit in terms of like the peeling, because like look at where your Mercy dies. She's right next to you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that you have to be aware of. You know, if you're right here, right? You're not like, oh, I have to fly up and give all the space to peel off my Mercy, right? But she's right next to you. You know, so obviously a little bit of hindsight there, but
yeah. I was thinking I occupied 3 people, I must be doing something good, but no, not enough. I occupied 3 people, but 3 least important people, the only 3 people who couldn't backline.
And that's the thing, is it's like it's not just simple mathematics, because if you're occupying 3 people, but if you look at who
you're friends with FD God,
right? Yeah, FD God, yeah. Look at not just who that you're occupying, but when you're occupying them. So let's get it right. Okay. So okay. So you look at these guys, and the honest question: Moira, Baptiste, Cassidy. Look at their positioning. Are they worth occupying?
No.
Right.
They do nothing.
They don't have a good position to actually do anything. So then, like, you give them something to do by standing here. Whereas if you stand here, they have to walk out here, in which case they're threats to your team, but they're also easier to kill. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? You need to, like, if you stay here, and if you look at the only people on the enemy team that are doing anything, it's Ball Tracer.
Yeah.
So you're occupying 3 people, but these people don't matter until they walk forward. If these people walked forward and the Ball Tracer did this, oh boy, you got a real hard decision to make.
Now I remember some important advice, like look at the enemy team comp, figure out who's posing the most threat which you can deal with, and focus on that person. And yeah, I should be like Tracer Ball will kill my backline. I'm D.Va. I do peeling.
Yeah.
And so I should worry about them and
I would agree
forget
with that,
about the other 3.
But I will preface it by saying, don't just look at their comp. Look at the map. Look at the situation of what's happening on your screen, right?
I mean,
if I'm here and Tracer's over here and Ball's, I don't care. If Ball's over here, I don't care. I can't help. And there's a Cassidy here. Oh, I care about that, right? I don't care if it's a freaking Moira on your backline right here. She's priority. She's the one. She's feeding. She's inting. She's gonna kill your team. Help. Like, the problem here is it's like it's not even necessarily that it's Ball Tracer. That is definitely a part of it. But it's the fact
those are people flanking.
But they're the only people doing anything right now. So why even care about these guys? You know?
Yeah, I think I'm doing something similar to when we were capping the second point, like when I was going main and trying to figure out bomb, which actually made me oblivious to just their soldier ulting and their Cassidy
Right.
taking high ground and
Right.
also ulting for that matter.
Right. Who's actually doing something right now? That becomes a priority. Not just like, oh, it's Tracer, oh, it's Ball, but like, okay, like right now, for example, Tracer, Ball are priorities because if you look at the rest of the I mean, this isn't really your concern, right? You can let them do whatever they want. You don't care, right? And so yeah, this is easy. I mean, it's one of those analogies that I was always making. Did you see like the D.Va guide I did like a couple months ago? It was like the whack-a-mole analogy.
There was a full D.Va guide?
There was like a in-depth D.Va session where I talk a lot about the abilities. Yeah, and it talks about.
Okay,
like,
then I missed it.
Okay,
But
fine,
I need to get
Surprised
back.
you don't watch every single video that I release. I'm offended.
You know I was actually when in Overwatch 1, but then I just I got to adult life and I can't. Oh my god.
Grass. Yeah, I got it. No. But long story short, it's like the game of like whack-a-mole of like whatever's playing more aggressively, you hit that. Whoever's feeding on the flank, whoever's feeding on the angle, you hit that, right? You're either doing that or you're setting up your own aggressive flanks or angles. But yeah,
if they're hitting, hit them back like in the mole game.
Right, exactly.
If nobody is doing anything, then figure out who can go to and then hit them.
Right, exactly. Like right now, you have like this tough decision, right? You're like, okay, well the ball is doing something, right? So I can hit this guy, but obviously like probably not the best return on investment considering it's just hard to deal with. Then you look at your soldier and you're like, okay, this guy is doing something, so maybe I can not whack his mole, but I can let him whack away safely, right? And see who's whacking him and help him, right? So
I actually wonder what will I decide?
Huh.
Shoot mines. That's an interesting option I picked.
Yeah.
And the soldier dies. That's really
so he gets no
really
health.
something.
These guys are killable. These guys are easily killable if you were there to help him. But just for the sake of fun. Yeah. So I can't tell who's trolling more now. Close range. Oh dear. No way. Wait.
Oh my god, welcome to Platinum. Welcome to Platinum. She picked into the bomb! Why did she do that?
Oh my days. I mean, obviously,
welcome to that.
Reward. This, by the way, is like a perfect example of what we talked about with a target focus, where you're like, yeah, you could be peeling off Tracer right now, absolutely, but the Baptiste is also point blank range on you, so I don't think what you're doing.
And mechanics will fail.
Right.
I think my mechanics fail me again.
So yeah, your mechanics are definitely failing here, right? However, this isn't bad that you're shooting the Baptiste. Like, if you can shoot their squishies, shoot their squishies. You just need to be shooting somebody who's doing something. You're either peeling off somebody who's doing something, or you're shooting somebody who's doing something. That's it. Good stall. Obviously, because you killed two, it's winnable. What is this guy doing, man? What is he doing? Does he not? This guy. I don't know.
Oh, this is the guy who was not in voice chat and...
I don't really know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean, this is obviously shoot cast because he's the one doing something, so... Yeah. You good?
I needed to get back to your stream. Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Okay. Give you some cover. Matrix. Your Reaper's in, so you could boost her in honestly if you wanted to.
I thought he will be getting away soon because he's like, I'm just concerned in standing when the ball cannot whack me off point because it's half a meter.
You're at least putting good pressure on squishies. The Matrix that you're doing is good as well. And then now it's like...
Now I saw he's killable.
And you also go with your Reaper as well, so... No way. 2 HP. Oh my god. Okay, let's watch one more fight.
Okay.
Okay, let's get an actual fight here. I know the rank that you're playing at, but you should push her. I know you're like C9, but I do think at the very least, like, get out there and matrix your character, you know? Like, you're sitting here spectating, like, bro, you gotta do something, right? Like, you can always go back to the card if you need to, maybe try to not use your boosters, but something has to happen. This is good, though. Bomb's good.
No, it's not. It was supposed too high. I should tilt my mouse just slightly forward before queuing.
The mechanics. Nice, Peel. That's good. It still buys your backline sometimes, so maybe this is tradable. Oh, you don't have your reaper in here. Yeah, I think this is lost. Would have definitely used some matrix there. You had plenty to like waste, so why not? Okay, so D.Va.
Okay.
What are things you need to practice? Skills you need to practice?
Let's figure out what's most important. I think the most important is don't take damage before setting up. I think that's what makes or breaks, because that's a commit moment. So make sure you're topped up before they engage, I guess.
Sure.
However you want to phrase it. Then the second most important thing is take more, maybe remind yourself more often to kind of scan the situation, what is there to do in the future or to do now, so I don't get stuck mentally in this soft engagement on the front line or something like that. Read the situation.
What do you think? How does that look?
Scan situation, who is doing something, or is there anything? Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
And then the one last bit is that I suck at aiming. I don't know what to do about that. I found that having actually a relatively big crosshair and the crosshair which you can track, like when I'm tracking someone in close engagement, I really can tunnel vision on the position of the crosshair and don't think about me aiming at the person, but me trying to align crosshair to the moving target. Like, this is a hard tunnel vision, and I can miss that I'm dead, but I know that this is what improves mechanics. So maybe,
yeah. I mean, that's
so maybe just remember to have that mode, that's full focus tunnel vision and tracking mode. Like, maybe, how to phrase it? Have this mode be more ready to be switched on when I'm about to finish someone else.
I find that too. Sometimes I don't really put enough focus on my tracking. You know, like I like, you just like really, and I think that's something that you can also practice if you warm up. Like, maybe that's something like to do like 5-10 minutes every day before you go. I know it's tank, but like, go murder some Baxter bots with D.Va. You know what I'm saying? And like really focus yourself to focus on like really burning people up. You know, so. Yeah, that's something that at least, so then when you're thinking about 6 trillion other things as D.Va, maybe that's either being able to be faster focused on your mechanics, or just your mechanics as a whole are better in that autopilot mode. One of those things needs to happen, I think. Okay. Any questions?
Do you think Elohel is real?
Let me think about that. I'll need at least several weeks of like really careful, conscious thought. Probably a lot of baths. Probably burn through at least 7 or 8 different notebooks, you know, and then I'll let you know my opinion.
I'm just saying this because I was talking about these stats early. Like, I have basically a 60% win rate, and I'm still in plat where it started, and I was diamond last season. So, I mean, they announced that they would rework the way climbing system works, and so they would remove the deranking between seasons and something else. But my god, I don't know what they did. Like, maybe they just decreased the value of a win, because it was 25 SR on average, like in Overwatch 1, and now, as far as I can calculate, I get 25. That should be, yeah, I should get like 750 SR across all roles, sorry. And I got about 400. Like, even if we encapsulate that, I might have moved inside the tier, you know, that's still like a few hundred lots. So my guess is like they lowered it to 20 or 15 for game per average. that sucks. I hate it.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with like that the game is convinced that like it gives you matches where you should win and you don't win. Like I see this all the time where people go like 5-1 in scorecards, but they don't actually rank up. It's because it's like, you know, we were put into like 5 out of those, all 5 of your wins were games that like, or like your one loss was a game that you should have easily won. Like you had like a 45 SR advantage over the enemy team and that you still lost. Like, come on, bro, right?
Like it happens.
I think
Yeah.
I'm convinced that that's how it happens. I'm gonna be honest. Your gameplay is high plat gameplay. So like at least in terms of the eye.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not because I have.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not an expert. I'm just saying that something has been reworked, and because
for sure.
they keep it all a secret, then I suppose I got a little bit of I don't know spying
Well, that's the
information
thing.
of what's
It's like
happening.
they keep it secret because like, oh, you know, we don't want to upset people. But what ends up happening is it's like
It's like I have 30 wins more than losses. Why am I still the same rank?
Isn't that, it's like the Streisand effect, guys. We don't talk about it, so now everybody's talking about it, right? You know, it's like they hide it. Now everyone is like getting all these conspiracy theories and getting all upset. I think it was a mistake, honestly. But yeah. All right,
Yeah.
mate. I'm gonna